Imagine a family so powerful. The locals didn't call the police when there was trouble. They called them. But what happens when the monster of the town is the one wearing the badge? You've likely seen the headlines. The disgraced Southern lawyer, the double homicide at the hunting estate. But today, we are stripping away the true crime circus and the media frenzy. Why should you stay for this? Because this isn't just a murder case. It is a terrifying clinical case study in narcissistic collapse. We are conducting a forensic deep dive into the psychology of a family annihilator. If you want to understand how a century of absolute, unchecked power creates a human mind capable of slaughtering its own blood to save its ego, you need to hear this file. Drop your bags. Hit subscribe if you want the psychological truth without the filter. Let's open the dossier. To understand the crime, you must understand the dynasty. For over 100 years, 3 generations of the Murdaugh family ruled the 14th Circuit of South Carolina. They were the prosecutors. They were the law. When you are raised in an environment where your last name dictates the outcome of a courtroom, you develop a psychological condition known as generational impunity. It's the deeply ingrained belief that consequences are for other people. The rules of society are simply suggestions that do not apply to your bloodline. Alex Murdaugh inherited this empire. He was a personal injury lawyer making millions, commanding absolute respect. But beneath the Southern charm and the tailored suits, the psychological profile was rotting. He wasn't a master litigator. He was a predator feeding on the vulnerable. Behind the gates of their massive hunting estate, Moselle, the reality was bleak. Alex was stealing millions. He orchestrated a sprawling, decade-long financial fraud, primarily stealing settlement money from his own severely injured clients. Psychologically, this requires a profound lack of effective empathy. To look a grieving mother or a paralyzed young man in the eye, promise to help them, and then quietly pocket their survival money requires a chilling level of compartmentalization. But by the summer of 2021, the walls were closing in. A wrongful death lawsuit involving a boat crash was threatening to expose his finances. His own law firm was auditing missing funds. The facade was cracking, and this is where the psychology turns lethal. Enter the narcissistic collapse. When a covert narcissist's false image is about to be completely destroyed, they experience a psychological crisis. The threat of public humiliation and loss of power is perceived as a threat to their actual survival. To prevent this, the ego will authorize extreme, catastrophic measures to reset the narrative. They will burn the house down to avoid having it repossessed. On June 7, 2021, at the Moselle Dog Kennels, Alex Murdaugh's wife Maggie and his youngest son Paul were brutally gunned down. In the profile of a family annihilator, the killer does not view their family members as autonomous human beings. They view them as extensions of themselves, or as props. When the psychological pressure becomes unbearable, the annihilator will slaughter those closest to them to cast themselves in the ultimate role of the untouchable, tragic victim, thereby buying time and sympathy. The 911 call was a masterclass in performative hysteria. But the forensic facts didn't match the theatrical grief. There was no blood on his shirt, despite claiming he checked their pulses. He told police he was never at the kennels that night. He built an alibi. But he forgot one detail: digital forensics. A video recovered from his son's phone placed Alex's voice at the exact scene of the crime, mere minutes before the slaughter. The smartest guy in the room, the generational legal titan, was undone by a Snapchat video. When the victim narrative began to fail, and his law firm fired him for embezzlement, the collapse accelerated. He staged a bizarre roadside shooting, claiming an unknown assailant shot him in the head while he was changing a tire. In reality, it was a botched suicide-for-hire plot, a desperate, erratic scramble to redirect the heat. Alex Murdaugh was convicted of 2 counts of murder. The century-old dynasty ended in a prison jumpsuit. The defense blamed a crippling opioid addiction. But pills don't plan alibis. Addiction doesn't execute a wife and son with 2 different weapons to stage a cartel hit, then calmly visit a sick mother to establish a timeline. That requires a chilling, calculating psychopathy. It requires a man who spent his entire life believing the rules were written for the peasants, and that he was the king. The mask didn't slip. The mask was removed because the monster needed to feed. This case is closed, but the psychological implications are terrifying. There are more dynasties out there, more untouchables. We'll be profiling them all. Subscribe for the next deep dive. Keep your eyes open